are back. We are coming into our third and potentially final game here in our third quarterfinals of the EMEA Masters. Goldberg, it was a bit of a stomp. It was a great game one, super close. Movistar threw it as far as they could into the Unicorns' hands, but then Unicorns, they came out like different beasts.
Honestly, they did, and I have to agree with Aragon on the desk as well. Like that Jace flex, you have to get rid of it because that did so much with the pressure in the mid game as well. So that's from the draft phase that you have to mitigate something in. Maybe you're looking to go back on comfort, but there's also the gameplay point as well, and that's really how do you stop the map from being so influenced by Lekcyc? You need to cover and actually contain this bot lane of Unicorns of Love.
I think my next point is also a pretty big question.
Go for
Side
it.
selection. Are they going to stay on red side? Because they opted into red in game number 2 and, well, the draft didn't repeat itself. So, you know, let's see, because we're about to see it on our screens anyway, what they've decided to do. Because if they're on blue, then maybe things can ease up for them and they can target, focus a couple more bans. There you go, there's confirmation they will be on blue side. And the Jace immediately.
I feel like that's
two for two.
That's just a no-brainer. But yeah, once again, Aragon calling it out. So there you have it. So a good read. Question is, are they going to go back and pivot to that kind of Wukong composition? Unicorns of Love now as well here. Do they feel like Desire is a pick that has to be banned away? And if so, what will be the first picks from Movistar instead? Like, we've seen a lot of the engaged junglers actually leave their mark. We saw the Maokai here. Bai has also shown some priority, and you can only get rid of one of them. So the question is, do you just want to get rid of the self-peeler instead?
Yeah, I guess.
Annie as well, but with that didn't actually really have priority.
So they get rid of the self-peel. Annie, I wonder if Annie will just end up randomly being the first pick now, just because we've...
Feels weird to say randomly, right?
I say randomly, but like in the context of this draft and the series so far, certainly. But I mean, Aragon, another great call. Go back over to the Wukong, and it seems like that's what Movistar want to do for the opening.
Yeah, I honestly think Unicorns of Love is super happy with that trade as well. I don't think they mind having Peach on the Maokai instead. I think I want to go back to the Annie. It's an interesting topic that we often see. One thing is in the ERL level, sometimes it's just, well, this is my comfort. But another thing is, most of the time, you don't actually get to scrim with an Annie. Sometimes you come into this bubble where Annie has just been banned for so long that you actually haven't practiced it.
That's a great point. There's quite a few champions that kind of pop up like that, where they are just 100% ban presence.
Yes.
Sometimes teams just don't really get their time to you know, see if they can even make the pick work themselves. About individuality there. So Unicorns, been speaking, of course, about the Maokai pick. Zeri's still up. Jinx is up. It's not been touched all series long, and it seems like finally someone will get their hands on this AD carry. And if Movistar want to, I think they can still happily pick up the Zero on the opposite side. It's about what they want to pair it with, right? Do they want the Nautilus? Do they want to potentially take away the Thresh to remove the safety net? Options are there.
Could also just be a Renata as well if they don't want to give that over. It'd be good into the Jinx as well, create that disengage as well. We've seen a lot of different teams start to opt in for that instead. I feel like you can't go Nautilus because then you know you're going to be met with a Braum. If you go Lulu, then you know enemy team is probably going to go for the Renata instead yourself. And we're actually going to go bang to the Galio for Fresskowy. They had a lot of success with that in the first game as well.
Yeah, they did. Yes, they did indeed. The Galio just made things so difficult. The only difference this time really is that Unicorns don't necessarily, you know, they've not put themselves in a hole where they have to hard engage to find options just yet. It's a lot more of a neutral draft where you can kind of just commit a Maokai ultimate from range to force back members of Movistar. You don't really have to send your bodies in just yet.
Yeah, and I feel like here you just go Nautilus because it wasn't picked up. You can ban away the Braum now. You can ban away the other engage options, the Thresh if that's what you're looking for as well, the Lulu, Renata, you name it. All the things that you don't want to play against. And you now have the Nautilus into Zeri, which is great. And you have it with the Jinx as well. So this is a bot lane that quite often gets priority and can make the map movements as well when they get the first reset through.
Yep, you've got your long range point and click CC, check. You're not running face first into Galio ult permanently, check. There's the Renata ban, check. So now all they need to do is remove away the Braum, and they've kind of just hit all of the criteria to not have as disastrous as a game like they did in game number 1. For Movistar, I feel like they're still in a very confident position, right? They've got Maokai plus, not Maokai, Wukong plus the Galio, so they can always make those engages work. Engaging onto them is always going to be difficult because of the CC and the mobility, so Movistar now have the opportunity to potentially go towards the side laner if they want it, commit to a full-blown team fire, as I'm sure they are still very much concerned about Venour's very much strong capabilities to play on the side lane.
Check, 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 check. Braum taken off the board as well. So they've gotten through the criteria. They've gotten themselves a A+ from the inspectors, Jamada and
the draft inspectors.
Draft inspectors, the weak side police. They're under many names.
Yeah, but we're not that kind of inspector. We're more like security check. Like come in, oh, is everything actually working here? So it's not that department.
I will say I'm actually really interested in the fact that they go towards the Camille because I feel like when you're
going to discuss
forget all that. I think the fact that they've got the Galio means that not only are they comfortable playing with it, but they should be comfortable playing against it. I wonder if this is just eyeing up now potentially for like an Ornn out of Marky. That's the only thing I'm thinking of off the top of my head. Maybe they could, I mean, Olaf's off the table. So maybe they're just looking for something super like scaling, engage. Scion could be there as well as the option to move away that side lane.
I do agree with you, right? Because you have so much of the already engaged. You can have to set up for the Galio with the Wukong, but you would actually like just one more, right? Just one more to really solidify it. Question is, will that be coming from the bot lane instead? Or will that come up towards the top side as well? We're going to wait and see.
I like how your excitement changed there, Jamada. You saw the pike, you were like, ooh, and then it changed around.
You know, kind of, you know, spicy. I feel like with the kind of engage and CC tools that were there, you know, something like a pike could have been kind of fun, you know, resets. But Rell kind of adds another layer to that, you know, engage CC that we're talking about. A little more limited to kind of, you know, the range of W plus the flash, but it's definitely not bad at shutting down a mobility tool like the Ahri, and it definitely makes Jinx's life very difficult. Now the Kennen's also there to just layer in another factor of burst.
That's the thing, right? It's just the team fight we're currently seeing from Movistar riders that you're waiting for. You might be pushing in the early game, but there is the potential for you to finally have team fight options, for you to fight back if Unicorns of Love take charge. Question will now be for Venour. Where do you feel like you're going into the likes of a Kennen?
Wow.
No, you're just going to take the skill matchup. Oh, not even a skill matchup. This is just Irelia that can take charge in this matchup and become quite explosive.
You know, this is something, and you'll be very familiar with this, of course, that a lot of teams would remove away against Finn and Leader because they'll be very scared if they go the Kennen that they just run into the Irelia. So we'll see how Venour gets on with this. It's a matchup which can be quite explosive, especially at level 6. A lot of burst available to the Kennen, and also a lot of, you know, elongated trade patterns can be available also for the Irelia.
And I feel like you really have to look at the two junglers here because for the side of Isma, there's the bandage part. You need to make sure that this Kennen can actually reliably lane because of the explosive matchup. For Peach as well in the other regard, if you can be the one to just lock down that Kennen, it's just point and click with the W into the follow-up of Irelia and you're dead.
I don't really have anything else to add.
No, that's all right.
I thought about it.
It's all right.
Do you know what the funny thing is? I did that real typical play-by-play thing where I thought about it and I said, he just said that. He literally just said the exact same thing that you're going to talk about.
You know when you're at school, right? And you have something just pre-prepped to say, so you stop listening, but then the student ahead of you says it, and then you get picked on by the teacher.
Yeah, that's literally it. That is it. But I didn't say it. Now I'm just getting reprimanded because I had nothing to say. But, I mean, look, for Movistar, you got to get this Kennen going, like you mentioned, but also, like, you can't let the mistakes happen like they did in that game number 2. You can't let these things stack up because this is it. You're now looking at a best of one. You have to make sure you win.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the main win condition will still be your Zeri in the late game. I think it's just to make sure that the Irelia doesn't take over because we saw what happened in game 1 when Venour took over and they still had the bot lane ahead.
You know, I will say though, I think into a composition like this, it could potentially be a very difficult navigation to get. Not only ahead, but then also subsequently have a whole bunch of teamfight impact.
I like this because an early invade up towards the top side, if you can force a Kennen flash early, that would be disastrous. I wonder if they're anticipating an invade themselves or if they're looking for something here.
No, they want one.
Just send the flash. Like Lekcyc's flash for flash, that's super worth it. Ooh.
But they don't quite see Marky. Marky's just out of vision. They didn't see Isma.
Somebody spot him.
Yeah.
Nobody sees him, but they do get an early ward around that blue buff. Make sure they have the early pathing kind of information, but it is equal on the side of Movistar, so they're kind of saying, look, like for like, little by little, it's all about information, and sometimes lack of information is information itself.
Yeah, but this time around, information is traded for both teams right here. Better early information will come through for Unicorns of Love. You can see there's a ward both on the blue buff, but also on the Raptors, and over on the side of Movistar, it's only on the blue buff itself. But through the process of elimination, they should know that Peach is up towards the top side right now.
Yeah, they should indeed. And information kind of just traded, like you mentioned. Everyone knows where everyone is, more or less. and nothing should really come out of it. We'll see if there's any early interesting shenanigans with the pathing. I doubt it. Potentially, however, as I say, actually, I think Peach could maybe make a level 3 appearance on the top side just to, you know, kind of lean this matchup more into the Irelia side of things here for you.
Yeah, I mean, you can even take a look at the goddamn wards we've had as well.
Yeah.
Because there's one, if you come from Raptors immediately, let's say he wanted to come from Raptors, he's going to go, I want to go up top lane here, spot it. Okay, let's say he's going to come from the crops instead. Okay, what's that? Okay, spot it, right? So already from the level 2 to 3, the early pathing is set up and ward to actually just stop them.
Yeah, I guess realistically, because the wards have been dropped so early, there is maybe room for Peach actually go up there after this rip off, and potentially the top lane ward could have expired.
Well, you wouldn't know that.
He wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
And
That's spectator's advantage.
A lot of ifs, buts, and maybes there to kind of figure that one out. But I like your kind of thinking. I like the way, you know, again, putting yourself in an opportunity to maybe get Peach into position. Again, it's all these kind of, you know, as I said, if, buts, maybe someone overextends, they get themselves a nice little early kind of setup. That's the kind of thing you're looking at. But wasn't to be. Both junglers now on their bot side of their jungle, just happy to kind of farm themselves out for the moment. No one really feeling too crazy for the time being.
Yeah, not at all. And I wonder what the priority will be around the dragon with that in mind. If we have these passive lanes, I think if we hit level 6, I feel like Movistar are going to feel quite confident with the Galio R. We saw how happy they were to step up time and time again because they always knew they had the aerial support of the Gargoyle from the mid lane.
So let's see this right here, because Isma is spotted on a ward, and not only that, he will be spotted if he walks into the tri-bush as well. Could be a potential counter gank to come through over from the side of Peach if they're anticipating any shenanigans. As of right now though, Peach still clearing that Grom, down to half HP. Should be known that he's here because of him hitting the Scry's Bloom. Isma though, still up and aggressive, and I don't actually know if they spotted him walking into this bush.
Don't believe they did, but they did have information. He just finished off his Krogs and went down towards the lane, so possibly thinking about it, you can see how respectfully Funky and Lekcyc are kind of playing right now, even throwing at the Zaps to try and farm. They know that something is kind of up. And that's the very similar idea that we saw for the Leona in that second game. The Nautilus can just throw out that hook, interrupt everything.
Yeah, it's like the Thresh. Whatever really just stops the mobility when she's airborne for her W, it's super hard to actually navigate it. Also, one of the reasons why it will be a bit difficult playing the Rell into Nautilus even later on, what you're really looking on then is really just having Flash available as soon as possible every single time. So it wouldn't even surprise me if we saw Alvaro go for the likes of Lucidity boots just to have that engage up and available as many times as possible.
Yeah, mentioned kind of the limited range of engage in the draft as well for Rell, right? It's not quite as easy as being very far away if you're Nautilus pressing R, so like you said, lower cooldowns on the summoner spells, really, really big deal for Alvaro. We'll see if he goes towards the option.
And just in general of pacing, way slower for both teams here, actually. I kind of expected Unicorns to look for a bit more on the top side, but for now, they've kind of just let the matchup happen instead.
I like that you mentioned that as well, because it kind of shows the gravity that Movistar find themselves in. Game 1, very aggressive. Yeah. They were throwing everything at you know, in so many ways. With this almost identical composition, they got the Wukong and the Galio. This time around, however, they're a lot more cautious. They know that they can't really afford to mess this one up. They have to keep themselves in at least, you know, kind of parity to the side of Unicorns. Otherwise, they're done. They're looking at the summer split.
Yeah, they are looking at summer split. And I mean, you think about it, right? They've already lost as many games today in a best of 5 than they did pretty much throughout the entirety of their playoffs run over in Spain. So for Movistar, you know,
so you're saying it turns around now?
Yeah, I'm saying, you know, maybe it just turns around now. Maybe they've had enough of losing, and this is the comeback story. I mean, they looked so good in the early game, in that game 1, where they had very similar tools to what they have right now. So I think realistically, all they have to do is actually lock down objectives very early on. But right now, as I say it, Unicorns, they're on the objective first.
And this is actually the first early Drake we see. I think you can totally go for this. It's easy for their bot lane to push for the priority. Mid lane as well, having a good time after Mask. Teleported back, he's got that Lost Chapter advantage to the small components we see on the Galio instead. Isma could of course try and threaten the steal, but he has no vision at all whatsoever.
Oh, that ward is going to give them all the information they need. But again, first move from bot, they're just going to engage on them.
Double flash, kind of burnt here, but Alvaro now has nowhere to go. You go immediately in. The Galio going to come down here as well. Get the knock up here on first blood. Goes over to Movistar, but trade it back. The 2 supports have been taken out, but there's the AD carry traded as well. 2 for 1, and Movistar biding their time, getting the results.
And Fresskowy's presence again being felt first because he can just press the armor. Even if he's second move, he's always going to make it to the fight first because of that gap close. And Movistar able to just find a huge fight, massive taunt as well on the back end. Great decisiveness from Alvaro to just go in and know that he'll have the air support from his mid laner to lock down this engage.
Yeah, but interesting as well with the setup that they had here. could have been potential for them to actually have the team fight initially. I think Funky walks a bit too far forward here as well after getting the kill. You can see it now. Kiteback is not there, and he's faced with the Galio with the taunt. Mask is still around, but not much he can do after that.
Yeah, and I have to say, the importance as well, all first kills for Unicorns is super high because you've got the Ahri and you've got the Jinx. Excited plus additional Spirit Rush charges are massive in order to actually snowball a team fight further and further in your favor. So if Movistar are able to shut that down and, you know, always be the first punch in, it feels like Unicorns' team fighting abilities can definitely be curbed if that's the case for Movistar.
Great start for Movistar. Again, good to see them kind of coming out of the block swinging, not letting this one go down without a fight. But again, it's not really equaling into too much in terms of craziness right now because there is still some decent CS leads that's kind of bringing the game back a little bit in favor of Unicorns. The gold's still fairly even, as we can see. Lekcyc just going to have to kind of recognize that he's not really in position to take that safe recall, gets himself Spider-Man'd out. And the funny thing is, like, you know, we kind of mentioned obviously the top lane could have been maybe a point of pressure there with the Kennen and of course the Irelia, but it has been again the bot lane coming into this one, and you mentioned that as well for you know, coming into this, that you still have the Zeri, and if the Zeri can get ahead, that's a huge win condition for Movistar.
I mean, it's your main win condition. It still is that late game carry, the peel that you have. Yes, you got the good flank and engage options from the Kennen, but the truth is that ultimate is just as much peel as it is engage. When you actually play around that Kennen, or rather to play around the Zeri. Now, up towards the top side, 8 minutes into the game. Quick Herald as well, and I think this one, once again, quite decisive this time around for Movistar. This time, they got the first drag early, they're getting the first Herald, so their tempo has also elevated it, but much also because they got the few kills in the early game.
Is he going to be here in time? That's the question. You've got no flash on the Nautilus, and he's got nowhere to go. That's going to be a kill straight away. Trade it back now. Funky finds a beautiful flash from Supa, and now Peach in a 1v2 situation. Doesn't have a flash, but can Supa catch up to do the damage? That's the real question. Some decent damage available with the Bramble Smash and the red buff. But Alvaro chasing him down, Supa looking for a little bit more as well. He just needs to kite this one out, and he does it beautifully. 4-0-1 on Supa.
Now that's a win condition if we're talking about one, and that's an accelerated win condition for a carry that really shouldn't be the threat so much in the early game. Initially, looks decent for them because they know Peach is around. I think they're calling for a potential play here, even after the hooks actually comes down, but it's not layers on the chompers in time, and then afterwards, Supa just cleans up with the ultimate.
You can tell the mentality was actually a collapse, because even in the mid lane, you get Ahri kind of hovering down towards the bottom side, but as soon as a couple of skill shots go awry, Supa just knows he's got the space to open up, and Peach as well. One thing I want to kind of mention, Alvaro does a really good job of hugging the wall here. Again, it's not the first time we've seen it in this series. Body blocking Peach so he can't turn around and maybe try and find some damage onto Supa, and again, CC burst damage there. The chase down is easy. Really great turnaround, and now all of a sudden you've got a 4-0-1 Zeri on the map, and Unicorns don't necessarily have the easiest tools 24/7 to find their way onto him.
Flashes, flashes, Cyclone, double knock up. You've got plenty of damage here with the Caulfield's Warhammer. It's Alvaro who picks up that particular kill as he dropped down the Ignite, but yeah, Lekcyc, nowhere for you to really go, and you will get bonked on the head by the Monkey King.
And that's just an overextension, right? You come back to lane, you don't secure the vision initially, and they're just going to go onto you immediately. You can see it here, they want to push in the wave and back immediately. But the problem is, Isma's read them, and that's just going to cost them.
And this is the thing, like, that's the window where you would go to them, put vision in. So this is just a great tempo read from Movistar to come down and make this collapse happen. Really, really solid. And now, Unicorns, it feels like, I don't want to say they're running out of options already, but the bot lane...
Hey, game one exists.
You know, game one exists. Game one exists.
And I think that's actually where I'm looking right now, because I'm looking at Movistar and being like, listen, once again, you've got a great start, even better with your objectives again. I want to see them perform better than we did in game one.
Great charm.
Get onto the Galio, so very, very healthy though, going with the Catalyst A on. Stop pointing at each other and one of you talk.
I thought you were going to carry on talking, so me and Gorbog are having a moment on the caster there.
Two is just pointing at each other. And I'm just like, I get it. You're both lovely gentlemen, but now, come on now.
This is potentially a condition. Ooh, I mean, he's got the win item.
He goes right picking underneath it, and he will have the minions to be able to get himself out. Does he have enough lifesteal? Yes, he does, because Blade of the Ruined King is good for the Irelia.
This is exactly what I wanted to talk about. But me and Gorbog are busy pointing at each other. They actually have a condition for the top side because Irelia has Blade of the Ruined King.
I wanted to talk about the same thing.
I know it feels a little bit cop out because we saw the 1v1 happen, but we were having our fun, right? I feel like because the options are running out through the bottom bottom side. Mid lane feels tough because Fresskowy always has first move. Maybe if Fresskowy is a little bit, more interested in looking towards the bottom side, you find a window to slip up to the top side, right? But why find a window when you can just 5-blade the Ruin King and 1v1 your lane opponent and get a solo kill like this? Yeah, make a window.
It's kind of the sad reality of the matchup as well. I thought he was going to Q on the turret here.
So did I.
But it's the sad reality of the matchup. You don't flash that E when that blade of the Ruin Kings come through, you die.
Yeah, very
he's
hard.
not dodging, right? He thought he dodged it, but
it's so hard to walk away.
Yeah. But Movistar, still lots of reasons to be happy for them. Now picked up their second Drake 12 minutes into the game and just got the first turret down in bottom side.
And it's Ocean Soul, which feels pretty good. There's a lot of frontliners here on the side of Movistar.
Yeah.
And it feels like if you're unicorns and you can't burst somebody down, normally I always like to talk about the Ocean Soul more as kind of a way to not get one shot, in the sense of if you don't get 100 to 0'd and that one big chunky tick of Ocean Soul comes through, that's so much extra effective HP that you get to work with to potentially just find yourself one more extra window.
Right on. Just having fun today, aren't you? You're just having yourself a little bit of a day. In fairness, you've been on broadcast for what, like 5 days in a row now, including LEC?
That's fine.
You've been doing a hell of a lot. You still don't have the slicing Maelstrom, but you are able to get the Galio ultimate out. But while that's been happening, Peach has been caught a little bit on his own. So
Man, he was just trying to help, and then all of a sudden...
now we see 5 members of the side of Movistar just kind of moving towards the top side. They're going to see the taunt coming in. The W does a little bit of damage mitigation, but not a whole lot after when there's 5 people on top of you.
Dude, it's like Movistar saw their top laner get solo killed, and it's like, you're a little brother, you get bullied at school, and then you call in your big brother, you're like, guys!
And I took that personal.
Absolutely. It was like, that's him!
It's him! He did it. But, again, it's just great map movement, no matter how you say it, and decision-making from Movistar. Just go, well, you know what? Venour is potentially a win condition. Let's go shut this down now. There is an answer on the bot side. There's a huge wave being missed, and Funky is getting some gold back. But look how far behind he is already. And Supa's getting gold as is.
That's the thing, right? Because then you just shift the pressure. Supa is now your top laner. He's now the one looking to get the turret again. He's already got the plating and first turret down in the bottom side turret. Now he's getting plating again. And look at that gold difference between them. 7K on Supa, looking to make it 8 with Funky, who's the second highest gold behind him. That far behind.
It's a lot. It's a hell of a lot. And the thing is that this is such a better situation now for Movistar than in game number 1. And you're probably asking why. Dragons. They are getting themselves early Drakes. They have a win condition that's going to force out the side of Unicorns to make a play, to make a fight, which is exactly what you want to be doing if you're on the side of Movistar.
And I feel like that was the pressure that wasn't really felt from Unicorns in that game 1, right? They never really felt like they were forced into making a macro decision because of the Dragons. They kind of just got to sit there and go, well, are Movistar griefing in front of us? Excellent. Let's just take it. Fantastic even. And there was no forced error play, which we see so often because of Dragons. Now Movistar potentially have that window. They're picking up this Herald. That's going to be on Isma for the next 4 minutes. And the Dragon spawns in 2, so they'll have windows to play the wider map game too.
And now Movistar finding themselves once again in the exact same position they were in game 1, where they're dictating every single objective because they win the team fight. Now, the thing that Unicorns of Love came back with was that side lane pressure.
Yeah.
Pressure, rather. It was playing through Venour. Question is, can you find that again? Because they're aggressive down here. Good disengage.
You haven't got themselves any tower or any minions to tank this.
Shut down.
It's going to be a huge shutdown. It goes straight over to the Ahri, and you've just gone too far into this play. Shelly gets dropped down to try and make this one work, and oh my god! Goldberg, it's happening again! It's 2 throws in 2 games, but this is just Movistar being so overzealous.
Oh, and they're getting so much on the map as well, because there's still Venour down in the bot lane. He can look for tier 2 instead, getting so much farm for himself. Shut down, going over to Unicorns of Love. Mid lane opened up again, and Movistar. How does that happen again, Venour? Are you gonna die?
I mean, is he gonna die or is he gonna be able to take a kill? That's the question. Isma getting very low right now. Can he get another little auto attack off? No, he can't. And it's a 1 trade down. Look, it's a silver lining, but that's a dark cloud now hanging over Movistar.
Oh, it is indeed. Movistar, that's just... What are you doing it for? I mean, you've got the Herald short, but
look at the play hit though. Look at Lekcyc stopping the ultimate at first as well. Into the chombers afterwards. It's great disengage from Lekcyc here.
And as soon as that disengage comes through, you just have to turn around and Movistar. Just accept that the play is done.
The Maokai ultimate comes in.
But yeah, that's the other thing. But they kind of still commit into it, and it makes the Maokai ult worse, right? And at that point, we spoke about how important it is for first kills to go over for the Unicorn side when Jinx or Ahri are involved, because it means Spirit Rush charges, and that means Jinx gets excited, and we see the reason why as the rundown comes through.
Whoa! That's a dip.
That
Yo!
is a dip right there.
Are we in the LPL again? What's happening?
I don't know, man. It's looking very familiar to me. I think I can break this one down as, you know, just kind of one of those things that happen. That's just kind of the way the game is sometimes. But look, I mean, this is why the Unicorns did this in game one. They weren't panicking. They didn't try to go for any crazy fights.
So how confident do you feel now? Because you just secured a huge fight from Unicorns of Love. Now you're suddenly gathering around the objective. Third Drake would be soul point for Movistar. And Unicorns of Love is around. Venour, though, still down towards that bottom side.
I mean, I feel like the only big place they have an iron discrepancy is with Mask having 2 ions. Funky isn't really quite there yet either, with no summoners.
Look at Marky.
Oh, it's huge! It's absolutely massive. The Slicing Maelstrom finds exactly what they needed here from Movistar. And they clean up house. They don't need the dragon right now, but they can look for a hell of a lot more after it.
You don't cover your flanks, you're gonna get caught in the back, and that's exactly what just happened there. Marky, just patient, have to set up with the Galio afterwards, and that's just a Slicing Maelstrom right there.
And how many times does it feel like, you know, a game might feel a little bit on the edge, and then we just see a massive Kennen ultimate come down.
Man, you know, they really just gave Unicorns of Love hope just to take it away from them immediately again afterwards, didn't they? But it's also just a setup, right? You don't have the proper vision to actually contest this Drake. And he's not even spotted on the sweeper either, so yeah, there's nothing to do.
Unicorns even feel apprehensive about walking into the choke in the first place, but they still do it. And once Marky's in the middle of everyone, once everyone's CC'd up for Galio to just come down and off the top rope, pretty much just elbow them.
Now Marky, no flash.
Oh.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter right now. We will see the Flawless duet come out eventually. We'll get the stun down onto Isma, but a good Cyclone stop. Oh my god, he was resetting so much right there. Mask now in full retreat as he looks to try and TP in and maybe help out his top laner, but wasn't able to make anything happen. You would imagine the Galio just walks away from this, and that's exactly what he does. Now we're going to see an engage in the mid lane as Alvaro wants a little bit of supportal combat as the ADCs now put in some serious work. They're looking for the ultimates to try and make this one work. The Ignite is good, but not good enough. Quite enough. They're going to be able to get him out.
And, you know, Venour doing that on the bottom side is why we need Irelia in chat, because that emote was basically what just happened.
Well, he was trying to at least now. Supa face checking.
Yeah, he's looking for it to see if he can find out Funky, but have I been caught or have I caught you? That's the question. Now Supa, see Peach very scared about this and eventually going to have to use his ultimate, but it's a little bit too little too late. Forced a flash in defense of himself, and that is just Movistar knowing how powerful this Zeri is.
Yeah, I'd really love to see them get some control of the enemy jungle. The problem is right now Alvaro doesn't actually have any wards, so the only thing they can do right now is clear the vision that's laid upon them by Unicorns of Love in their own jungle, get the reset through, and then start taking control of the red side Baron area, because Baron will spawn in less than a minute.
Yeah, exactly. You want to try and take control of the Baron side just to try and snowball this game, right? Make Unicorns feel pressured into a decision. Not Herald rather, the Soul is spawning in 3.5 minutes, and that's what you want to try and make them flip a decision on and make that gambit happen.
That's the big pressure point we're really looking at here. Quite often when you get on Soul point, most teams will just think it's just about the Soul, but it's about creating that indecision in the enemy team. Will they go Baron? Will they go Drake? Can we invest half our vision there? Do we invest half our vision there? And because you end up going 50-50, only 100% in one way, it's just always the team who has the proper setup beforehand, which will be Movistar Riders in this instance with all their Drakes. That should go away with it, but we'll see when it comes to that. There's still 3 minutes on that Ocean Soul. Baron will spawn just now, but Movistar still in very much control of this game and of the map at the moment.
Yeah, they are very much in control. Now, one thing I do want to kind of bring up, it's kind of 2 points in one here.
Okay.
Funky's finally hit 2 items. Fantastic. However, on the opposite side, Supa's on Infinity Edge.
Yeah, 3 items already. And if my maths, hang on, let me just triple check this. If my maths is correct, 3 is greater than 2.
Yep. Fantastic maths.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, checks out.
Thank you.
Now, Mask is actually surprisingly strong. He just needs to spend a little more gold, I think.
Isma. Oh, he gets charmed. He can't flash in. They're going to lose the TP off Marky.
Disengage.
Disengage is decent for the moment. Lekcyc, knock off flash. They are going to get the flash off of the Irelia, though, as Marky was hunting him down there very, very quickly. But it wasn't going to lead to any other kills. Just a couple of summoners blown.
Yeah, a couple of summoners. Irelia's flash, I mean, I guess you'll just take it, right? Anything you can get feels good. But no teleport for Marky means potentially, you know, the flank angle's a little more limited. But I mean, after how we found the last one, maybe he just doesn't need teleport, to be honest with you. 2 minutes on the Dragon. We'll see how much that actually matters. If maybe Movistar can just force a frontal fight, they'll feel alright with it either way.
And look, minute 45 until the dragon spawns. That's going to be the big moment there, you would imagine, here for Movistar Riders. They need to make sure they don't panic. We have been here before.
We have.
And we do not want to see them throw this game away. Again, it's 2-0 to the Unicorns. If Movistar lose, they are out. They need to make sure they dot their I's, cross their T's. It's our phrase of the series. And because it is so important to make sure you are correct in everything you do.
Listen,
and now,
that phrase is going in your caster review for now.
absolutely, absolutely, I accept it. But bot side, the Irelia trying to run away, does have a TP, but knows that with Alvaro kind of there, he hasn't really got an opportunity to kind of get away with the CC coming in. We're going to see them use in the ultimate, but there's nothing you can do. The Irelia's got nothing there. But do they try and turn and burn for this Baron? I don't think they
They're
can.
not in position to it. Mid lane should rather be caught by Funky. So he wasn't there to immediately just go on it. Now Isma behind him. Funky's going to have to go up towards the top side. Yep. And they actually get nothing. So good pickup once again for Movistar. They actually destroy one of this, well, at least what they're trying to make a side lane win condition and still keep control of the map.
Yeah, I've just loved this general, game read from Movistar for the last, maybe 10 minutes or so, where they just kind of acknowledge that Unicorns can't really play through the bottom side. Sure, Mask is fed, but if you stop the fights from happening on any kind of terms Unicorns initiated, that he's not going to be able to get involved, and you just go to shut down the only win condition that you could proactively use, which is the Irelia. And Movistar just doing it efficiently as hell.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Because the biggest problem for Unicorns is just how far behind they are in the items. No Infinity Edge for Jinx hurts them a ton. And Funky, or rather Mask now, did just pick up a second turret up towards that top side. He spent it. My right side HUD was telling me Shadow Flame, but
because he sold it, and then bought the Morello afterwards. So the HUD was just catching up.
Okay, fair enough. Flash in, Isma trying to jump in on the Funky. Nexus kind of moving in as well. They have got the Maokai ultimate to try and disengage, but now Peach is left on. He can't get it to them. And he just can't get anywhere from it. There's just nowhere for you to go, and now with no jungler, it's going to be Baron.
That is so unlucky for Peach, because his flash was coming up, and not only that, Supa pressing the E, it makes the Q go through him, hits the Krugs, he can't W over the wall. And now that's just Baron from Movistar. It's so easy, there's no smite on the other side.
Maybe?
Nah, surely not.
Mask?
Mask looking to see if he can maybe throw in a charm there, but not going to throw out the ultimate there. Looks like they're going to try and take the Baron, but the soul should be secured here from the side. Oh, that was an incredibly late rocket.
You say that because the Drake has actually been...
Funky. Oh, man. He's getting 1v1 right now. He's not going to be able to get under the tower. No! The Runan Turrican proc is just enough. You get the dragon here for the Unicorns, but Movistar have got everything.
That was the thing, because Venour actually just started up the Drake while they did the Baron. They realized there's no way they're actually going to contest it, so they actually managed to stall at least a soul win condition from the side of Movistar Riders. And I think that's the way that's the reason why Mask as well opted into that Oblivion, just knowing that, hey, they're probably getting that soul and we need to just have this healing reduction ready for it.
Yeah, easiest to player as well.
TP.
Movistar, it's very deep, but maybe the flank is good.
Oh, if they can get it, go. There's low health bars here, but they immediately turn and burn. Nowhere for the Ahri, the Nautilus, to go, and that's going to be 2 more dead now on the side. You got Funky up in a couple of seconds, but can you defend this? That's the real question. No real benefit coming out here from the TP, and he actually just resets himself back in line.
Yeah, I mean, it's a deep TP. You understand the idea for Unicorns, but the decisiveness from Movistar is great, and now the teleport's coming in. Ultimate still available, and so is the flash from Marky.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see how this actually pans out. Disengage in the beginning.
Yeah, they're going to put out Vanguard's edge to street. They can maybe get something here. They're going to get the Galio ultimate out. Alvaro should be able to stay alive. Get the knock up, and there comes Marky. Double kill for the Kennen. Works out absolutely beautifully. And Movistar Riders, they shall not be swept, and they will bring the score to 2-1.
I believe the phrase is, we have a series on our hands. Movistar will not...
Just one series without it.
I tried. I tried.
Without it.
Give me praise. I didn't say it.
You know, it's Munch's fault from the LPL.
It is.
He's ingrained it in me.
I blame everything on him in general.
Yeah, exactly. But Movistar do
raining.
not...
Munchables.
Exactly. But, crucially, Movistar do not repeat the sins of game number 1. And they actually secure the objectives, use them efficiently. And not only that, I think just excellently shut down every single potential win condition available to Unicorns as soon as they recognized it was there.
You can take game 1 and game 3, put them up against each other, and then say, and this is the reason why we stack objectives early.
Yes.
Because when you have this lead, you can actually end the game, put them on a timer way earlier, where your item, what do you say, advantages actually matters. Because if it's late and they get 3 items to 4, it actually still becomes a bit easier because the power spikes actually have been reached to get some kills on an AD carry. But if they're still stuck at 2 items and you're at that 3 already, you're looking at Baron, you're looking at the Soul, that's where it becomes really difficult to play.
Yeah, and you know what, honestly, for me, I just generally believe that the decisiveness just felt there from the side of Movistar compared to game 1, compared to game 2. Much cleaner, I think, having engaged tools, but just clearly being on the same page and so quickly kind of caught Unicorns a little bit off guard, I feel like. And I think the difference between that game 1 decision-making being so snappy and game 3's decision-making being so snappy is the reason why we see Movistar here in the quarterfinals as is.
Yeah, and I think Unicorns of Love also, they struggled a bit with playing through their top side. You know, there wasn't really an impactful early game gang for the Maokai either, and we didn't really see the same roam as we saw from Lekcyc. I think with the Jinx and the Nautilus, you could have dropped them wave 3, game wave 4, just said flip it. Let's set him up there. Let's see if we can get some sort of kill just to get your win condition ahead. Didn't really happen either. So I think it's also the lack of proactivity we started to see from Unicorns of Love where they slowed the pace down.
Yeah, I also, you know, I really love this point that you say that Unicorns really are struggling to play around the top side because
Good job, man.
not only did Movistar obviously shut it down, but I feel like we saw what Venour can do on an isolated 1v1 matchup where he can just win, right? And it feels like he got denied that in game number 2, and he had the ability to counterpick for game number 3, but wasn't given the resources to actually carry on a side lane or bring down the lead to a team fight. So I feel like Unicorns need to shore that up because Venour's generally been playing fine in his isolated 1v1. It just feels like he's not given the platform perhaps that he's needs to be given to actually take over a team fight against Movistar.
And that was the big difference, like you mentioned a little bit there. There wasn't big support roams. There wasn't any kind of like jungle and support roaming around like this kill duo helping out all the lanes. It was very much kind of everyone to their lanes. No one's really kind of going anywhere for the side of Unicorns. And then Movistar kind of went, oh, cool. Well, we met, you know, kind of set up our made up for the mistakes we did in game number 1. But we're going to send it back over to the analyst desk to break down game number 3.
Hello, the analyst desk here. And just like Jamada said, we do have a game on our hands. I guess we're rolling.
No,
I'm sorry.
Come on, man.
We have a series. I mean, it's been 3 games so far, and starting off with this one, it's the first time that we've really seen Movistar riders just hit the ground running. Felt like they had control from the very beginning of the game.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what Trouble was talking about. We want to see them playing through bot lane, and we're also seeing them back on the Wukong. I'm really happy to see that, because I think generally that's their best performing composition, especially out the game we saw very early on in the series, the very first game. We saw them almost take the win. But yeah, you could see in these clips coming up right now, playing through bot side and actually getting super snowballing. I believe in one of the clips, he even got a triple kill.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just really fucking... Whoops. Sorry, production. Really freaking love the fact that Alvaro is on his Rell and he can get these sort of engages. It was that good of an engage, guys. I promise you. But the fact that they have the Galio also to join these fights means that Fresskowy doesn't necessarily have to win mid lane. All he has to do is drop into Fog of War and he can join these bot lane fights by just pressing R on his champion, right? So I'm really loving to see Alvaro and Supa playing a little bit more aggressive, getting that Rell, grabbing a few kills onto that Zeri. And I'm pretty sure there's another fight. Thank you very much, production, for dropping this one as well. Because this is, I think it's a triple kill for Zeri right here. You'll see the Kennen finally some more facilitation coming in from the top lane, right? Because even if Kennen is an AP carry and not technically like a tank, he can still engage with his ultimate. The flank was beautiful, catching everybody into that choke point, making sure that the Zeri snowballs further ahead.
Yeah, we have the bot lane dominance coming through as they play to the bot lane, which is what we wanted to see from them. But also one thing to highlight is the team that won didn't have their top laner on like a carry, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I get these top laners off of carries,
She was looking
I
at
guess.
you.
Yeah, it's really sad, isn't it? I used to watch Venour all the time to learn Irelia, and I'm really sad that that was his debut. I think he did really well at the start. Okay, and maybe it was a consequence of the game being out of hand.
Of course, it's always your team's fault. It's
true.
Never your fault.
Blame the jungler, you know? But he did get a solo kill onto Marky, so good on him there. Maybe he should just go on the tank, though, and, you know, play for the composition.
Yeah, well, the composition did actually really very well work in favor of Movistar riders when we're looking at the team fights that they have been playing out. They executed it perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you have the Galio and you create space with the Rell, as we see, this is the final team fight right there. You see how Rell will always, Alvaro has been always playing so far forward onto the champion, sees champion, engages champion. Again, the Irelia ult is not going to do much there. And the second he goes into the engage with the Rell, Galio slams in. And even if the Galio ult doesn't hit you, it creates so much space for the Zeri to play around this team fight. Of course, this team fight was a little bit of an overkill because Movistar were extremely ahead when it comes to wallet. and wealth. And as you can see, very nice stuff from Supa, actually showing his carry potential in this particular game.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing to talk about here is an interaction on the composition for Unicorns, right? It was incredibly hard to play the composition because basically the way you want to play it is very similar to last game where you kill the first target, and the interaction here is actually killing the first target with something like an Ahri followed by, you know, an Irelia and a Nautilus into killing that target and unlocking Jinx's passive, because when you kill that first target, Jinx gets excited and gets to run down the rest of the fight. That's why Jinx is so popular right now. Unfortunately, being so far behind, they just could never find it.
Unlucky.
Unlucky. The drafts, of course, behind us are swapped. This is the red side over here. I'm just going to stick on the Irelia because you mentioned it, Venour. Used to be an Irelia one trick, used to stream it a lot. I was very surprised to actually see that this was his first ever professional game on a champion that he used to one trick, right? But what's really getting to me is that usually when you want to pick a split pusher, like the Irelia, you want to eliminate any threat coming in from any other side lane. You want to create your own little pockets of 1v1. With the Galio being locked in right here for the side of Movistar, it is never a 1v1. Add a support in there, add a Zeri jumping over the wall, and you are just never found in these isolated scenarios when you can dispatch of one champion at a time. They even 5-man dove him at some point, just not giving him any chance on the side lane to push.
And this is what I mean by a symptom of the game, unfortunately, him not being able to, you know, snowball. It's because, I mean, what can you do when the enemy support is just showing up in lane? Alvaro is just showing up top lane at 13 minutes. You really can't play the game to snowball. You want to keep diving Kennen, keep killing Kennen, but suddenly there's a Leona in your lane, you know? It becomes really impossible. And then Irelia is really notorious for being hard to close out games with, really high mechanical champ. We know he has it, but what can you do when your time team's behind and you're against a very heavy peel composition?
You start spamming missing pigs, you know? That's
Team? Why support top lane?
In regards as well to the mid lane, one of the things that you mentioned as well in the green room earlier, Aragon, was the fact that Mast was on Ahri, and if they lost this game...
It's very unfortunate, isn't it? He was 6-0 on Ahri and now is 6-1. A bit of a, you know, stain on his stats, but he is still 7-0 on Jace, so maybe we see that again, or it'll stay permaban and he'll maintain a 100% win rate.
I'm loving that we're seeing these little videos of Unicorns of Love actually, like, you know, sitting there discussing what went wrong. I'd like to give big props to Marky because I don't necessarily think he had great games onto these Jacks. And I was the first one to say, you know what, enough with the carries, go into something more facilitating, something that can engage fights like the Sion, like a Cho'Gath, like the Cassante. Kennen does the same thing. He zones for the carries, he finds flanks, he's got the stun with the passive and the ultimate as well. So you can be a carry and you can facilitate for your team at the same time. And I just really like to see that side of Marky where he can actually engage fights and provide that utility for his team.
I mean, a win is a win. And one of the things that you mentioned, Aragon, was the Jace pick. That is something that they're still performing quite well on. But if we're looking at the draft, Georgia, Jace was the first thing that they banned. They did not want to see Jace at all. They didn't want to see Unicorns of Love have that champ. So it's pretty likely it's going to be banned again.
I think it's a habit when usually Maokai remains open or Sejuani remains open. You definitely want to get rid of the Jace. It's just a fantastic duo. You mentioned it earlier, Aragon, with the Maokai. It's sort of, you throw sapling, you slow, guaranteed the shock blast is going to land. That's a big chunk that's going to be missing.
Yes.
Makes it instantly to 4v5. Somebody has to reset, if not die. With the Sejuani, it's melee champion. Sejuani passive also matches up really well, sets up for good kills. And if Jace snowballs, he can end the game. So I wouldn't be surprised if I saw the Jace permabanned for the rest of the series.
And another pick going forward that I want to see banned is actually taking away the Wukong for Isma. For now, for sure, he's on a high. You know, we've almost won twice with Wukong compositions. I want them to take that away and put them, you know, back in the rough, deciding, guys, what do we need to do? Our only winning strategy was now banned. What do we need to pick? Don't just give it to them again.
I mean, the Galio as well has been pretty influential in the combination with the Wukong. So is that a pick that we're expecting taken away from Movistar Riders?
Yeah, I think Galio is extremely good in the meta right now. He just got some huge buffs. He's also very good into and with the current meta junglers in terms of Vi and Wukong. Very good pairings, lots of setup, and very good anti-engage for them too. So yeah, I want them to take it away potentially as well.
Okay, well, I hope you guys have been taking notes and listening to our very smart analysts on their what to pick and what not to pick, especially because you can maybe apply it to your solo queue games. But we're going to be heading into the fourth game of the series. Unicorns of Love still just need that one game to be able to close it out. The Movistar Riders are looking to stretch this even further. So we're going to be back after a break with our very lovely caster desk.